Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams, and were brave enough to be that person. Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where I have been interviewing people who I just am completely intrigued by and want to learn how it is that they got to where they are. Because as I keep telling everybody, you will never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. So I'm really excited about today's guest. It's someone who I've barely been able to have a conversation with, but I've been drawn to since the moment that I met her. So Tonya Reid is in a mastermind with me. I've had other guests from that mastermind. You're probably catching on to a theme here. But what amazed me so much was just the level that it feels you embrace the authentic version of yourself. No apologies, no hesitation. And that's so hard for so many people. So I really can't wait to have this conversation with you to talk about, was that always the case? And how did you get to where you are? And God knows I need to know why there's a Barbie doll hanging behind your head. But we can get there. But why don't you give people a little bit more formal introduction for yourself?
Thank you, Erin. My name is Tonya Reid, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a hairdresser. I've been a hairdresser for 30 years. I'm second generation. My father was a hairdresser, and I've owned my own salon for a little over 19 years. So that's in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, like as if it were just that simple to
A really big nut. Yeah.
Really big nutshell. Really big nutshell. All right. So we've chatted a little bit, and because I've met you through a situation where we both bought into the opportunity to learn more about how to become more. Mm-hmm. So what made you want to do that? Like, why did you think you even needed to do that?
I love growth. I love growth opportunities. I had a New Year's resolution about 10 years ago. I decided that my New Year's resolution was that I was going to seek out change for change's sake. It seems to me like people change when something gets to be intolerable or painful. And I had this kind of aha moment where I was like, I'm just going to strap on and let's go. Like, yeah, like this is change is going to happen. What is it, like death and taxes? Benjamin Franklin, I believe. Right. It's like, if that's going to happen, like, what if I just sought out change for change's sake?
But is it change or is it growth? I remember back in my younger corporate days when I didn't have as much confidence as I do now, I would have, I was in marketing and I was writing, and my boss would come in and make all these changes. And at one point I said to her, at what point are you just making this different, not necessarily better? So is it change, or is it change with intention?
I think it was change. That's a great question. I feel like in that moment, it was more being open to seeking out change and opportunity, and, versus stagnant.
Nice.
Versus, and being open to what comes up.
Was that an epiphany in a moment, or was it in response to that feeling so many of us have in different periods of our life of I'm stuck, nothing's really, Groundhog Day feeling?
Right. I think I have this weird chip in me that's always been there. Like when you're asking me this, I When I was about 6 years old, I remember being in the bathtub. I'm in the bathtub and I start screaming for my mom to come in there. Like I'm having full blown panic attack. And my mom comes in and like maybe 6, 7. And, that's about the age like your kids start asking you about like Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy.
Not just blind following anymore.
Right. They're like I was having a 6-year-old, 7-year-old existential crisis in the bathtub. So I'm screaming for my mom to come in there. And she's like, what is wrong with you, Tonya? And I remember looking at her and I said, do you realize that one day I'm just not going to be here anymore?
God.
My mom was like, I'm sure she was like, bells, friggin' bells. What am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do with this child?
So you basically figured out your own mortality at 6 years old.
Bubble bath. Yeah.
Bubble bath.
Yeah. Like the bubbles are gone. My ass is going to be gone someday. So it's funny. I'm a night owl and my son is too. And I said, I think I've always liked staying up really late at night because I realize that it's one less day I'm going to be on the planet. And it's not like I walk around with this low grade, I believe in reincarnation, so it's not like I walk around with this low grade fear of like the black hole of nothingness or whatever.
It's not a negative feeling.
It's not a negative. It's like, Mom, get the bath towel, dry me off. I got shit to
Go.
do.
Right? I got shit to do. We're on the clock.
And don't think I'm going to bed anytime soon. Yeah. Like
I can see, so I used to do something and I could totally see you doing this as well. I used to rearrange my bedroom furniture on a regular basis. Like I would completely redecorate my room all the time. Like there were stories of mom having like a dinner party or mom having book club and Erin is dragging furniture around up in her bedroom while all these people are there.
Love it. I do that now. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I start to feel like something, like I start looking around like something's wrong if things have been the same for too long, and not in a other shoes gonna drop way.
Right.
But in a, how can I mix this up?
Well, in a what can I appreciate now?
Yeah.
Like that was fun.
Make it fun.
That was fun. Now we have a saying in our house. It's fun till it's not. Like, how you'll be somewhere like, this is fun, I'm having fun,
And all,
like, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm done. It's that kind of thing. Like it's just
switch. I'm very much a switch. Like when it's over, it's over.
Yeah, it's fun till it's not. Like, yeah, that was great. I loved it. It was awesome. And it's also like why, I don't keep the black bananas. Like I remember when I first started doing hair, between each client, like I'd go in the break room and get me a little snack or something. I'd sit there like, oh my God, like this is the career for me. This is fabulous. I love it. Da, da, da. And there was this one girl that had been doing hair for probably 15 years by then. And she goes, Tonya, you wait. One day you'll be burned out just like the rest of us. And I laughed and I said, you'll never see me burned out because I will go find something else to do before I subject you to that.
Well, or I subject myself to that.
Yeah.
I never understood that. I never understood, not that it's always easy.
Right.
But people who've stayed in their jobs for years and years and years and be miserable. People who've stayed in relationships for years. I'm not saying that the minute I decide something's over, I have the ability and bravery, whatever, to say, okay, that's over. The next day break up, the next day quit your job. Sometimes it takes a while to figure it all out. But
Right.
you meet these people who have been miserable for ages. And I know it's fear-based, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. I get that.
Mhm.
But I just keep thinking, kind of like your 6-year-old existential crisis. I've only got, and so you believe in reincarnation, which makes it a little bit easier. I haven't completely decided how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, dude, I got one chance at this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend it miserable.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I feel you. Same. So I had a major, like I'm sure a lot of people, meltdown when we shut down.
Oh, I can imagine. It was scary. It was scary. And you have a 19-year-old business that relied on people coming to you to do it.
But my meltdown wasn't what you would think. So we shut down in North Carolina. I think the governor shut us down the 25th. And I looked around on the 15th, 16th. I'm lucky. My doctor's one of my best friends. She's a client. I had her on speed dial.
What is going on?
Yeah. I was like, she's like, girlfriend, you need to work as long as you can because you are going to get shut down. So I went ahead. My team looked afraid, and I looked at one of my leaders in my company, and I said, everyone's whispering, everyone's huddled, everyone's afraid. I need to know what they're afraid of. Are they afraid that we're going to get shut down and they're going to lose income, or are they afraid we're going to stay open and they're scared?
Right.
She said they're afraid of being here. And I was like, all right, got it. So I shut down. I was like, all right, guys, I'm calling it time.
Yep.
And I shut down a week before the governor. And at the time, I didn't know it was a week. I didn't know what he was going to do.
Right.
So we have a beach place. My husband's been retired for about 15 years. My son was living at home at the time, working from home. And we went to our beach place at North Myrtle. And it was mid-April. So I'd been off about a month. And I lost my shit. I got in the bed. I cried for 3 days, like not cry, like, like heave, like the heave ho cry, And my son, like I have 4 boys.
Oh gosh.
I would rather punch you in the nose and then go get you a beer.
Right.
Like
Right.
they accused me at my company of not having tear ducts. Like,
right. I hear you. I do mad before I do sad.
yeah, I'm not, like it's the flip side of the same coin, but I'm not
Right.
I just don't cry. So I am bawling, and I freaked my family out. They're looking like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, and I couldn't stop, like under the covers,
Oh my God.
like 3 solid days. And they were like, it's okay. Like you'll reopen, it'll be okay. And I said, no,
You don't understand.
no, you don't understand. You don't understand. This is awesome. I don't want to go back.
Oh my God.
I was 52 at the time. I turned 53 in October. I was like, I've worked since I was 14, babysitting, and then, worked at a drugstore in high school for 4 years and college, like always worked. And I was like, I love this. Like I was freaking out thinking, I've got to go back. And I was like, uh-oh. And we've talked about this before. One of the biggest things in our mastermind that we learned about increasing abundance through spiritual law,
Yeah.
the tricky bastard of a law for me has been the law of sacrifice. That one has terrified me, like terrorized me, sheer terror in my body. Like, this is how I imagine law of sacrifice. Abraham on the mountain, my beloved son Porter on the rock, and I've got the dagger over my head, and I'm waiting for God to tell me I don't need to sacrifice him. Like
That's so
Like
interesting that you say that, because there's nothing about you that I would ever anticipate goes negative, like inherently goes down, inherently goes negative. And yet for that situation, you're way negative. That's not like even just a little bit. That's like all negative.
It's not negative. It's like
It's doom and
doom and gloom. It's like it's like
I'm the opposite. Once I figured that out, I have embraced all the things I don't have to do anymore. I'm like, well, sacrifice, give that away. I'm not doing that for that.
Forget it. I don't know. I guess that's where like my Catholic upbringing.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, like what? So I was just like, law of sacrifice. Like it's almost like I was looking at it like you've got to take your most prized possession and be willing to,
kind of like forget law of sacrifice. That's Marvel and Endgame.
this is like in-game shit. I think I'm seeing a theme. I think the title of this episode of your podcast is like the end is near. Like, dang, I'm like
the 6-year-old's existential crisis comes back to haunt her.
But I realized law of sacrifice. I went, oh, what's the law of sacrifice? You have to give up something of a lower nature in order to receive something of a higher nature.
Which is not your son by definition.
Which is not my son. I mean, for someone listening, it might be their son, and there's no judgment. You might be done with his ass, but whatever, it's no judgment. No judgment.
You do you.
You do you. What you got? I mean, if you need to change the locks, go for it. Right. So I realized, like, oh, it's giving up that which is no longer serving me. Yeah. Duh. Light bulb moment.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I know I really enjoy having conversations about who you need to be in order to reach new heights. As founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, I work with my clients at the intersection where what they need to do to succeed meets who they need to be to do it. If you would like to have a conversation about your business, please reach out to me at Erin@conqueryourbusiness.com. I knew a little bit that you had released, for lack of a better word, the business, but I didn't know the story behind it. And I think a huge lesson is to listen to that message when you receive it. Because I think there's a lot of times people have ample opportunity to release, give up, stop doing something that doesn't serve them, but they don't take it. And not that it becomes too late as in it's too late, but my cousin comes to mind. I have a cousin who, this was years ago, we had this conversation, 3 children, a wife, an extremely high paying job with benefits that he hated with the force of 1,000 suns. But he was so far into that situation, supporting this life, supporting this family, that you feel so trapped. And I think that really is where so much of that misery comes from, is when people don't listen to that instinct that says, this is no longer serving me, and take action on it.
I actually left IBM to go to beauty school.
Wait a minute. I left a 6-figure income that's paid for an MBA. I had an expense account and I was traveling internationally to work in people's basements in my last business. So there's a reason you and I have been connecting so well. You don't want to be the person to tell your mother that you're leaving that position to go open your own business, working with families with aging parents, going through all their crap in the basement so they can downsize.
I love it.
What did you do at IBM? I can't even wrap my head around. I can't even guess.
Well, it's so, I mean, this is the funny part. Like I'm such a big girl now because I know how to get on Zoom. Like I don't know technology technology eludes me. Like I do this personality testing with my team just so I can better coach
Right.
them.
Meet them where they are. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's called the Workplace 5, and it's a continuum, 0 to 100. You know, what is it, like 60% of the population score between 45 and 55, 15 on each side, and then the outliers are 5 on each end. And like it's like from 0 to 15, 5% of the population score, 85 to 100, 5% of the population score. So you get it. So I was looking at reinventing myself 2 years ago again, that, I didn't listen 2 years ago. So I went and I did my score again. I did my test again, and my friend put it into the ACT college testing. Has what is your career? What's the best career for you based on your score?
What color is your parachute? But now it's all online, right?
Okay. Well, it's so funny. If you score over 70%, you should look at these following career paths. Okay. Like there's 24 different career paths. I scored 95% in 2 career paths and like nothing in the rest of them. It was psychology or cosmetology. Okay. My technology score was a 17. And I said, so I should go find a cave and sticks and berries and I should draw on the wall. And my friend said, pretty much. Okay.
So I took one of these in college, and the 2 things it came up with for me, firefighter.
I could see that.
And and like jet pilot, like Air Force, F-16 pilot. I'm 5 feet tall. Who am I carrying out of a burning building, right?
But see, you could do it. You'd be like, you better get your ass up or I'm going to leave you in this.
People move.
You can do it. So I'm at IBM. You have to put it in context. 30 years ago.
Right.
So we didn't have, there was this whole thing about like, people are going to have computers in their home and they're going to be able to shop. And I'm like, so I totally get the Sears and Roebuck catalog. Like I used to circle what I wanted. Oh, that doesn't sound exciting. Yeah. Well, I was in marketing. And so I worked in the new business unit. So my first husband was in sales in the new business unit. So I'd gone to school for fashion merchandising. Mm-hmm. And when I moved to North Carolina to be with my first husband, there was no fashion merchandising or any fashion at all.
In North Carolina.
In North Carolina, south of the Mason-Dixon, there wasn't a lot of fashion going on. So I, like, both sides of my brain work. My dad was a hairdresser. My mom's always been a banker. So I thought, I guess I'll go to finish my degree and go for business. So I was working on my degree in business, and I worked at IBM during the day, and I was in the marketing department, and I would help, they would bring in small businesses, then talk to them about the importance of having PCs. Like this was all new. This was.
Oh, I remember when I had a job when we finally got computers. So
yes. And I was there for about a year, and I was in a department where there was this incredible African-American girl that had been there for a while. I was 21, so I was there. And there was this 19-year-old white guy, interning. And he started, I think his name is Jason. Jason started going on business calls with the new business unit that the 3 of us supported. So I, looked at the other woman. I was like, Allie, do you, is that something you would like to do? She's like, yes, I've never been given the opportunity. And I was like, well, we need to remedy that. So I wasn't thinking about politics. Like it never occurred to me how it worked. you
That's
know?
how I was. It never occurred to me how it worked. So I just kind of asked and did what I wanted because I didn't know it
That
would happen.
exactly. So I didn't give two shits about going on a sales. I didn't care, you know, but I didn't think that, I mean, we're doing all the work and this guy's going
Right.
on these things. So I go to my manager and she's like, "Oh, I don't know. Well, no one's ever done that before." And I was like, "Well, this
He
cat,
is.
he's doing you're like, hello." And I don't know if you know
Sure.
that, but he doesn't even know what we're doing. He doesn't know how to do what we're doing. So how's he being rewarded doing
Right.
something? So then went to the man, she didn't know. So I went and asked her manager.
Sound like
He
me.
didn't, he didn't give me the answer I wanted. So I went to HR and I was like, "Hey, I'm just curious. Like, how does this work? I'm just curious. Like, how does it work?"
Right.
Not realizing that I've created a whole stink. Like, I don't know how it works, y'all. My bad. My bad.
Absolutely believe in the amazingness of what happens when you don't know what you're doing.
I don't have a clue. So I go in there, and next thing I know, there's this internal investigation
Oh
on
God.
these practices. And my marketing position supports my husband's
Oh God.
sales team. You know, there's this saying, you don't shit where you eat. Well, I don't think I had learned that saying
You
yet.
didn't realize you were pooping all over your husband's workplace.
I didn't realize that that's what that meant. So I'm driving home from, and it didn't bother me. I was like, great. Clearly there's something they think they need to check out. I'm going to go do me. So I'm going to school at night for my business degree. And I'm at UNCC. And one night I'm driving home and I'm having this internal conflict. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right at IBM. It doesn't feel right, this business degree. And what's funny is I'd found out that I'd failed an exam, and it was a computer science exam. And it was, my work was not there. Like, there was nothing for him to grade. Well, he'd given us instructions on the paper of what, there was a sentence of how you were supposed to do your floppy disk or whatever.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
So I typed in everything that he said, did it. He couldn't retrieve it. So I got a 0. So I go up to him afterwards and I'm like, "I typed everything that you said." So he typed it, nothing. And I said, "Look, here's the sentence." Well, the directions had a period on the end of it.
Oh.
So when he put the period on the end of it, there's my, I
Error.
got 100, whatever. But clearly I'm like, I'm built different. My son's 26. He always says, "I'm built different." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" Well, guess what? I'm built different. Like my brain, like whatever. So I'm driving home from work or from class and I'm thinking, good Lord, like I'm not cut out for that.
What am I even trying to do?
Yeah, like period. Period. I'm not, yeah. So I'm all in my head and I look up. I don't know where I am. I'm not anywhere near my house where I'm supposed to be. I've gotten all turned around. And I look up and there is a sign with
Literally.
literally a sign. Now, I always pray for neon. Like, give me a sign. Please let it be neon so I don't miss. There was an actual sign. It was an airplane because I was somehow turned around and headed towards the airport. There's an arrow.
Right.
And I thought, wow, I want to get out of here. Like, I'm trying to get out of here.
You really out of here.
Like, really, where am I going? Like, what's going on? So I reached down into my bag phone. Remember those?
Yes, I had one of those. They got real hot real fast.
I reached down my bag phone and I called my father. And I said, Daddy, I got to figure out something else to do. Like, I don't like, I,
I
I,
just caused a lawsuit at IBM and failed a computer science class due to a period.
period.
Something is not working.
I'm like, I don't like, maybe it's just me, but I think there's something for me to look at here, you know? And I said, I remember people's dogs' names and where they went on vacation and like never forget a name. And I said, I think I'm going to go back to school for psychology. And my father said, well, then you need to be a hairdresser or bartender. And I thought, well, I don't drink. I'm not a drinker. So the next day, I went and enrolled in beauty school.
Nice.
So I gave my notice to IBM.
To which they said, oh, thank God.
Okay. So this is my exit interview at IBM. My exit interview was, he told the manager's manager told me that I needed to learn how to play the corporate game. He said that to me. And I said, that was his dig at me.
Right.
I got the biggest smile on my face and I said, oh my gosh, I could not agree with you more. I'm terrible at that. You have absolutely validated my decision to leave. Thank you so much. And he was dumbfounded.
Right. Like, because people in that role can't believe, I can't tell you how many times when I was in corporate, because I was for a long time, I found myself working my ass off to get a promotion, to do stuff I didn't, not in my last job, but the job that came before that, but to do stuff I didn't even want to do. Like, I was fighting so hard to be a person I didn't want to be.
Yeah. I call it the emperor's new coat.
Yeah.
Wherever I am, I'm always like, I think his wiener's sticking out. Like, I don't think stuff on it. Everybody else is like, oh my God, you look great. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Yeah.
So one of the things you're talking about, and I just want to wrap it up with this because I really think this has been such a key to so many people that I've talked to, is the success comes when you embrace the authentic version of yourself. And that sounds like that was part of your journey as well.
Yeah. Started in the bathtub.
Started in the bathtub at 6.
Started in the bathtub. Now I'm here. Maybe I can get a theme song out of it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really is listening to that inner voice of who you are. And here's the thing. Some people are great at corporate. I was really, really good at it. And I loved it. My last job, where I was for 12 years, was fantastic. I didn't have the problems there of being someone I wasn't. I left for completely just because I really wanted to do my own thing. But in the corporate jobs and the jobs before that, you're just getting wrapped up. And I think for an entrepreneur, it's almost like learn how to play the game for corporate, and for entrepreneur, learn how to be yourself.
Amen. Absolutely.
Well, this has been awesome. I could talk to you for days. We're going to have to do, I would say we'd have to do a recording with a couple of us together from the mastermind, but I don't know if anyone could follow us. It would be a bit of a free for all when I think about the conversations we had. So if someone wants to reach out and learn more about you and what you do, especially if they're in North Carolina, maybe they want to, I know you sold it, buy a salon.
Yeah. Exactly. So I still have my business. I'm just looking at my exit strategies for now. On Instagram, I am the Tonya Reid, TheTonyaReid. My salon is T Reid and Company, and I'd love it. I would happily talk to anyone that's thinking about getting out of corporate America, that's doesn't want to go to sleep because it might be their last day on the, whatever.
Because they're excited.
Because they're excited. Because they got stuff to do, man.
Yep,
like,
I hear you.
I'm really good at holding your hair back while you throw up.
Hey, you gotta have one of those in your life. None of us would be where we are if we didn't have one of those in our life.
So hey, whatever. I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.